Last episode of One Piece D&D Marines, boys found abandoned hospital and were looking for medkits. Hearing what seemed to be a crying girl, they decided to help, but turning around it was a horrendous creature who attacked our boys. Episode started with a fight but quickly ended with YOKAN's monk abilities to nullify magic. In this case, it probably was arm hockey against some sort of Logia Delafruit user. And with the only danger in the hospital gone, our boys could finally take a breath and chill a little bit after 3 tough fights. However, suddenly from the ceiling lands no other than tall hybrid griffin lady named Grail, whose bounty is 100 million bellies, and hence she is most likely to be the second strongest after Minotaur Man himself. Group now gets to fight Tavrock's strongest officer. YOKAN on her last breath, standing right next to her, is barely holding on and does decent amounts of damage, but what is most important, takes away Grail's ability to react. Damien dashing back and forth concentrates her attention on him. Kai does what he does, shoots his shots from afar, but Bradley just out of nowhere comes from behind with his attacks like Sneaky Knee, does enormous amounts of damage to Grail. YOKAN gets knocked out, Taiga gets thrown over the room and gets some weird liquid into him. Bradley does pick up YOKAN and then mocks the shit out of Grail. She being so pissed at Fishman like a fighting jet, Mach 10 flies at Bradley but he dodges out of the way and she just flies herself into the concrete and dies. Fight ends and group goes around the hospital to find more medkits. They find 4 more and they have 5 now. And after a very long and thorough discussion, they decide to stay at the hospital and long rest here for 8 hours. They find a room with a window. Kai prepares a basic alarm system to notify Marines if someone will come. Damien hides a door and a window as a wall and sets Chopper to play Ghost Kids noises. They fall asleep and Rustage rolls that only one man comes to find them and rules that if they defeat him, they'll get their long rest benefits. Kai notices someone approaching, notifies Damien, and as soon as that man gets close to the wall, Damien punches through it and the episode 23 ends right there. Roll episode 24. But before we go any further, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. According to this statistic below,
75.7%
of you who are watching it right now are not subscribed, so please subscribe right now. Also, hit the bell so you would get notified whenever the new video will come out. According to this statistic, only
12.5%
of all my subs turn their bell on. Let's get this number to at least 30. I would highly appreciate it. Also, join my Discord where you would get exclusive stuff and where you could even chat with me. Link would be in the description below. This episode starts with a fight and the one missed part to find us is Basilisk one. Actually, Rustage mentioned it last episode but I just forgot. And I don't know anything about Basilisk, I just know that there was one in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. But apparently a Basilisk is a legendary reptile reputed to be a serpent king who causes death to those who look into its eyes. Basically, we have Medusa number 2. Also, from all the fighting they've done before, they surely level up. So, as I said in the recap of the previous episode, Kai notices someone coming, tells Damien. Damien looks through Chopper and sees that Basil, name of the Basilisk guy, starts to notice that the wall is weird where the door is, and at that moment Damien gets to punch that guy in the face through the said door. Everyone rolls nature checks and the only one who knows what Basilisk's magical abilities do is Kai, so he notifies everyone to not look him into the eyes. Kai shoots his harpoon at him with disadvantage because he keeps his eyes closed. YOKAN, who was sleeping as a cat in a corner, doesn't wake up, but with her eyes closed walks up to where smelly Basil is and starts attacking him with disadvantage as well. Basil starts to stretch his hand to grab Dead and Mushi but stops and decides to fight. Rustage mentions that Basil is not the brightest in Miss Pirates, so he could have just ended everything right there and called Tavrock, but decides that he could take Arion by himself, which turned out to be a huge mistake. After a few turns, YOKAN critically fails and knocks out Den and Mushi out of his hand. Damien hitting Basil normally because he watches him through Chopper's screen, telling everyone to not kill him. Kai and Bradley at first try to shoot him, which would kill him, but because range attacks cannot be not lethal. Also, at some point, Taiga wakes up and asks what is going on, and Bradley tells him that it's Basilisk Delfruit user and to not look him into the eyes. Hearing these words, Taiga immediately turns to look at Basilisk and rolls a saving throw, which luckily he succeeds. However, Taiga is very sick, he coughs a lot, so group tells him to stand back, and after a little bit of more fighting, they knock out Basil. By the way, he was fighting with Tonfas that have blades at their end. YOKAN takes them, everyone goes back to sleep, Kai sets up his alarm system again, and Damien decides to ask Basil some questions. They put handcuffs on him and turn him around just in case. Damien starts to ask questions and tries to intimidate him, but his role was not so great. It was not a long conversation. Basil was so much more afraid of Tavrox than of Damien, so he rejected to answer any questions, and so Damien blew his brains out and went to bed as well. 8 hours pass. Everyone wakes up to the rumbling noise that is so loud that everything is trembling like an earthquake is happening. Walls move around. Labyrinth now is different from the day before, as Tavrox or his Delfruit makes his Labyrinth's layout changed automatically every day. Kai, being worried about Taiga, looks at him and sees something little in his throat and assumes it's that weird liquid that went into him. They decide that he needs a medical aid or maybe a surgery, so they need to get out of here as soon as possible. Before they go outside of hospital, Damien sends Chopper to look around the area. Minotaur Head and town buildings are still there, but it is a ghost town. Nobody's around. They go outside and head to Tavrox's building, and there is a staircase going up. Bradley notices that there are fishmen sitting on it, and one of them is a purple fishman that Bradley vaguely recognizes. One of them is his dad's pirate for sure, that Bradley remembers from the childhood. Bradley suggests to go around them and to not engage. Kai, before that, did one of his things that adds +10 to everyone's stealth in the group, so they easily sneak past fisherman pirates. They reach the top, and in front of them is a building with a gate pass through which is just pure darkness. Bradley climbs the building and takes a peek and just sees another staircase, but now leading down. Everyone climbs out with him and they go down this poorly lit staircase and end up in front of another gate. Out of that gate, group hears a whole crowd laughing and cheering, basically a lot of people. There are also different signs on top of the gate, which makes Marines think it's some sort of a trap. As soon as Sky tries to hear what people are talking about in there and gets closer to the gate, it opens up and they see a huge room with a wrestling platform in the center and the whole crowd cheering. On the other side of the room, they see this big Minotaur hybrid man, which is of course Tavrox himself, with his posture around him. There is a scorpion man on his right and Nessie on the left, and Tavrox starts speaking to our group by showing who he has there with him, and we see a beaten up, all bloody Anchor Arms, who has no Anchor Arms anymore. He didn't answer Tavrox's questions, and Minotaur chopped his arms piece by piece. Our group also sees Sky's grandpa Mako close to Tavrox, but now in his full zone Yeti mode, being held by chains. Tavrox says that we have two choices. Either we fight all of them at once right now, or we play a little game. 1v1. One of ours against one of theirs. We accept this challenge, and first goes up YOKAN, and the one she goes up against is another Tavrox officer. Alongside Tavrox and Grail, he is presumably the third strongest member in the crew, Amelo, the Scorpion. To shortly describe his appearance, he is like a centaur, but instead of horse, there is a scorpion. And Amelo is huge, by the way. YOKAN and him go to the ring and a fight begins. Now, because it's 1v1, YOKAN uses all her reactions to make all his attacks hit with disadvantage, and they start. YOKAN starts off strong by hitting all her shots with the tonfa she took from Basil. She burns all her key points and hits all those shots too. But now, it's Amelu's turn, and he misses his first attack? Okay, well, YOKAN goes again and does her damage, burns her key points, and now Amelu again, and his attack misses again. What? YOKAN does another wave of damage, dashing around, dodging all Amelu's attacks. Amelu strikes again and misses again. What is going on? YOKAN right at this moment is destroying one of Tavrog's strongest fighter alone. It goes for a little more, and YOKAN is still dodging every attack that comes her way and deals her waves of damage. One attack hits though, and it is 60 plus damage from just one single attack. Imagine if it hit every time. YOKAN does a saving throw and succeeds, so she takes only half of it because she stops poison from going further through her body. But if she did not succeed that one saving throw, she would probably go down from one single attack, which would nullify all her luck before that. But she did succeed, and in the end clutched it by killing Amelu in front of Tavrog by herself, solo. YOKAN just took out Tavrog's top 3 alone. This is a legendary moment in the history of Rastage's D&D campaigns. This fight is definitely one of the best out there and makes Myth Pirate's arc so much better. YOKAN killed Amelu. Crowd is quiet, and she looked Tavrog dead in the eyes. This is definitely a statement. This might be their Luffy declaring a war against the world government at any lobby moment. Well, after that, Tavrog just laughs and decides to play 2v2s. Kai and Bradley go next to the ring, and they decide who their next opponent will be. I also forgot to mention that their plan is to take as much of Miss Pirate's strong members as possible, and when they'll have to fight Tavrog, they'll just cheat and jump him. So Kai and Bradley decide to pick next strongest opponent, who is Nessie and some other guy. They chose Leprechaun guy, and now it's Kai and Bradley versus Nessie and Leprechaun. Suddenly the wrestling ring starts to change. Now it's some platforms made by bridges on top of the milk, and Nessie is a Delphi user who can swim in milk, apparently. Bradley just laughs at that and immediately jumps into the milk and punches Nessie, who was standing on a bridge. The episode 24 ends right there. To be continued.